by Nawal. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. African Diaries. Shayla and Dikumana keeping you company. And it is time for our very first conversation. Now, across South Africa, shelters continue to play a vital role in protecting and empowering survivors of gender-based violence. In the Western Cape Department of Social Development's 2024-2025 report shows that over 24,000 survivors accessed psychological support through shelters, while in Gauteng, more than 2,000 women and children found refuge in state-funded safe havens. These shelters, often run by non-profit organizations, faith-based groups, and government partners, operate under Domestic Violence Act, Children's Act, and the Victim Empowerment Program, offering not only immediate safety, but also pathways to healing, to independence, and to restoring dignity. Now, joining us in studio is Pebetsi Matlaila, beloved actress and public figure who has courageously opened up about her own experience of surviving an abusive relationship that left her and her children sorting after these safe havens. Today, she shares how finding shelter in a woman and children safety home helped her rebuild her life, and why creating awareness about these safe spaces is critical for others who feel trapped and feel like they have nowhere to turn to. She joins us in studio. Madame, thank you so much for your courage. I can't say welcome, can I? I mean, let's just start there.
We got here together.
Yeah, at this point, you can tell me welcome, Sheila. Anyway, let's start off the conversation by just giving you an opportunity to take the moment to gauge when you needed to sought after for help. And I'm asking this in the context of a few things that I have seen, right? We have read online what happened during your relationship. We had seen, I want to say the privilege, but I was privy rather to some videos as well concerning what you had gone through. At what point did you realize that maybe going back home is not the option? That I need to find a place that will allow me to heal, that will allow me to recalibrate?
Yeah. So in my case, I did not immediately go to a safety home right after my separation with my ex, correct? So what concluded the separation and what set it in stone was a protection order that I got against him, which to some extent gave us a sense of security and safety, that he will never be within our surroundings, However, it just took a couple of months until you started feeling the pinch of the financial muscle in the household gone. And this is where most victims of GBV struggle to take the decision to leave, because where do you go? Your lifestyle is going to change. And sometimes they stick around not only to maintain the lifestyle they had, but also for the kids' sake, because their lives will be turned upside down. So I tried to just keep it going for a while. Of course, because of the protection order, there was no help from him financially, even though there's a child in the picture. And neither did I even bother pursuing maintenance, because, you don't know where he is. You don't know if he's working. And quite frankly, I feel safer not knowing and not pursuing him. You just don't want to poke that snake that's in the hole. Just leave it there, So I did try to maintain a lifestyle for some time. However, the pinch became a gaping hole in my pockets. And I was left with a situation where I either pack up everything and leave and go back home, which is in another province, thus disabling my daughter, my oldest daughter, schooling at the time. She's in her final year of primary school. And here I am relocating her to go start afresh. And on top of that, I always say to people, home is not a safe haven for everybody.
Sure.
You can't expect people to go home. So don't say, why don't you leave him? Because I can't. I don't know where to go. Why don't you go home? Home is not a safe haven for everybody.
Sure. I think on that point, I want to come back to the context of being in a relationship and staying for the benefits, right? Sometimes these benefits don't necessarily go to you, they're for the children as well. I've heard this school of thought, and pardon me, Nolo, if this does sound insensitive, but I've heard the school of thought, if you're seeing the red flags, if you're seeing the problem areas, right, why can't you up and leave? You are successful. You are thriving in your career. You know, you're in front of our tellies. And I'm contextualizing this for you, but I've heard the school of thought that suggests you are capable of making your own money. Why can't you leave? What is the frame of thinking that you're in when you want to stay?
So, for the longest time, why it was difficult for me to leave was because I was pregnant, highly expectant at the time. So I had a gunshot wedding, which is, I'm pregnant, okay, let's get married, right? So it's one of those. And so the duration of my pregnancy I always say, the duration of my pregnancy was the duration of my marriage, 9 months. And I stayed because in the industry I work in, at the time, my profession that I was known by was a lead role on one of SABC's biggest soapies. And when I fell pregnant, I lost the job. I did not have a job anymore. And when you don't have a job, you don't have an income. We don't have maternity leave. So I had no other source of income. He was literally the financial muscle. Of course, I did have my savings, which is what helped us sustain life after he was gone. But those eventually ran out because even after giving birth, you don't immediately get a job, right? You still need to go for those auditions, go knock on some doors. So it took a while. It really did take a while, which was, I guess, something I didn't expect. You would think if you're a public figure, getting a job would be easy, right? So that's the idea and the understanding I had. But 12 months turned into 14 and then 18. And before I knew it, I was 2 years in and I don't have proper employment.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the context of shelters.
Yeah.
These have all kinds of stigma.
Yes.
Right. I think of the man who's on the side of the road as you're driving in your car, who knocks on your window and you roll the window down and he says, "Can I have X amount for shelter funding?" People associate shelters with that particular context. It's a cold space, everybody for themselves. You have to afford yourself into that place. But that's not the reality across the board, right? Walk us through the context of shelters and please be as open as possible, because I do think that there are people who've had negative experiences at shelters.
Yes. And I think that's exactly the kind of information I just want to put out there in the aim of ironing things out. Don't get me wrong. Yes, shelters are cold. Shelters are every man for himself. And we are all there with our own problems, right? So it's not kumbaya. We are all together. Misery loves company. So we are all together crying together. You really don't know what to expect when you get there. I remember the day I told my oldest daughter that I cannot cope anymore. We are going to a shelter. And her first word was, "Are they going to separate us from you?"
Sure.
Because she has the mind that, TV has taught her, when you go to a shelter, the mother is separated from the kids because maybe there's something wrong with the mother. She cannot parent the kids well, or she's incapable. I told her, "Baby, I don't know, but all I know is that we need to find a safe space to live." To my surprise, the shelter that I first contacted, so it was a terrible night of agony, and I was just scrolling and trying to find solutions. I did not know about shelters, by the way. I did not know. Yeah. All I knew is that I cannot go home, and where we are that night, we cannot sleep another night there. And I had all my bags and all our belongings, clothes, and I thought, where do I go? I've slept enough with friends. I've swapped them and recycled them enough. They're quite tired at this point. And I was just Googling, and I saw Women in Children Safety Home. Actually, I saw Women in Children Welfare. And I just thought, you know what? I'm calling them first thing in the morning. They will help me. I wasn't sure what kind of help I needed. Upon calling them in the morning, first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. when they opened their offices, they said, "We can help you. come here for an evaluation. They do need to do an evaluation because, not everybody's honest about their circumstances. You'd find that maybe the mother has lost a home, or the parent has lost a home because of drug abuse or gambling, and they lost the home. So they need to figure out your status. Why are you in this position of being homeless? And so after screening me, they found out that, okay, you do qualify to get shelter because the situation you're in was because of being a victim, or in that state a survivor of GBV, but you just haven't managed to bounce back. So when we were led to the house, the shocking part is I expected to walk into a hall where if each family is assigned a bunk bed, and we're literally living on top of each other, and you need to take care of your belongings.
Yeah.
That's literally what I expected, and I was ready for that, right? But then the shelter I went to, which was owned by an organization called Campers, happened to be a normal house, a 3-bedroom house with a bathroom and a kitchen. And you're given a timetable about bathing times, you're given a timetable about eating times. And you didn't even have to worry about food, because literally on a daily, we would get food donations from different supermarkets, So immediately as you are assigned a room, you get blankets. They offer the kids clothes because they get donations, charity donations, and they find out the sizes of the kids. Do they need clothes? We moved in right when winter was about to start, so the kids were provided warm clothes. And on the week started, they said, okay, which schools do the kids go to? Are they still in that school? Yes. So for protection purposes, because they're safety homes, and they're safe, protecting them and keeping them safe from the abuse or the perpetrator, they actually provided transportation for kids to schools. And they made sure they spoke to the school as well, that be careful of such and such an individual. Only the kids can be dropped off by us and picked up by us. Sure. That offered me, as the mother, time to put myself together and actually figure out, how am I going to bounce back from this?
Yeah.
Right? Because the kids are taken care of. They have lunch boxes, they have food to eat, they're picked up, they come back home, they bathe properly, they go to bed. You've got your little privacy in your room. And although that may not be the case in each shelter, but I would like to believe that one thing about shelters is they aim to provide a safe place, a shelter a roof over your head, and they definitely do provide food. So the mother doesn't need to worry about fending during the day to find food for her kids to eat. That is sorted. However, they do then help us with psychology help. The kids got therapy. And I, as the parent, also got therapy.
Sure.
And for what it helped me with is it gave me confidence to say, you know what, I have been applying for work. How about I actually go kick those doors down? I've been knocking. I'm going to kick them down. Why? Because I believe I've got what it takes. I've got experience that backs me up. And it also removed the shame, it removed the shame of, oh, I'm that public figure who has fallen on hard times and I'm waiting for donations. A shelter helped me to not depend on donations from individuals, Yes, there were donations from others, but they were offering those donations to people living within the shelter.
Yeah.
I think the difficult part about the shelter, though, is the people you meet there. Because you come across people who come from different walks of life.
Yeah.
Different beliefs as well. And you do not know how hurt these people are. And you're not always informed about different people's stories, right? So you always need to be wary of who are you close to? How much information do you reveal to individuals? And how safe are your kids? They do have laws that you cannot leave your children under the care of another parent. So you need to be careful if you're going to be away from your kids when they're back from school, you need to go with them. You cannot leave them with anybody else, or rather bring them to the authorities or the house mother, And also you really don't have a choice in the food that you eat. You have to eat what's given to you. You know, beggars aren't choosers in that instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when I say different walks of life, you know, you have different religious beliefs as well. So in one room, they could be burning some sort of an incense, and then in the other room it's impepo. In the other room you don't sleep at the time you want to sleep because there's some woman just praying at the top of their lungs, you know. So it's not your home, so you don't have rules that you can put up, you know. And the cleanliness is also something you need to be aware of. If you're used to keeping your house a certain way, you cannot be complaining about how others keep the shelter. Yes, there are rules to be followed. You know, everybody has chores.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to take everything with a pinch of salt and just remember, why am I here? And don't make the mistake of thinking that's going to be your permanent place, because what people don't know is shelters don't offer you permanent employment. I mean, permanent residence. You are there for minimum 3 months, maximum 6.
Sure. The voice of Pebetsi Nolo Matlaila joining us, beloved actress, public figure, and of course, one of our very own here on Channel Africa. We are discussing the importance of safe havens for GBV survivors. If you want to send through your commentary, your thoughts, your views, your questions, +27634069126. Nolo, quite a bit that you explained there. And I love the overview.
Yeah.
You spoke about your children being taken care of, you not needing to fend for the natural, right? So we're not worrying about lunch tins, heads, where will the heads rest, and. However, I do want to get into your headspace around finding your feet again, right? Because as much as I can speak to a psychologist, I'll speak to them for an hour. But this is my day-to-day experience, you know? I'm around other people more than I am around a psychologist. How do we trigger our head space? And I love the fact that you said that this is not your home. This is not home. You know, this is a place that can offer you comfort, but you're not supposed to get comfortable.
Yes.
You know? And so how did you keep that balance to say, this is my step? You know, this is the ladder I'm going to use to get to where I want to go.
Sure. You know, for me, being in a shelter was my rock bottom. I don't believe I've ever been lower than that in my whole entire life, right? And sadly, unfortunately, as a public figure, my rock bottom was publicized. It's not something that I could hide. You know, I'm known, so people speak, word gets around, and it gets out there. I think the first thing I did for myself was to own my story. How that helped me was to remove the shame, so I can walk out there with my head held up high, although I felt naked most of the time in public, because you walk into a shopping center and you know they know about you and you know they know your story. You can see in the sympathetic looks sometimes, and sometimes you'll just see in the silent whispers, you know, they want to ask, but, you know, they don't want to, but they're informing each other, did you know that this happened to her, right? So, but because I knew this is my story, I confessed to it. Yes, I am in a shelter with my children. I then, through the help of therapy, as I mentioned, I then regained my confidence. See, I guess maybe it depends on the kind of individual you are. I've never been one to be dependent on an individual. The only time I've ever been was when I was married. So I've always been self-reliant from a very young age. And so my regaining my self-confidence helped me remember who I am, how resilient I am, how tenacious I can actually be. And that helped me to say, I'm still that girl. I still have it, you know, and that's what helped me to now start calling people that I know in the industry. And to my surprise, most of them didn't know that I'm not working. And that's the kind of information or the kind of advice I always give. If you don't speak that, listen, I'm in a predicament, I need help, nobody's going to offer you help because they don't know that you need help.
That is fair. However, I have seen this. If there's almost like a balance that you need to have when it comes to asking for help. There's a
Yeah.
scale, and we don't know who said it, but somebody said it.
Yeah.
Because when you share too much of the pain, somebody's overwhelmed by your context and they pull back. When you share too little, you appear as though you're proud. And you don't necessarily need the help. How?
I don't think it's a balance. I think it's what you share.
Okay, walk me through it.
Yeah. So you can't now tell people about it. Whoa, me. How did I end up here? My life and.
Yeah.
Just get to it. I need a job. I need work. And I think that's the one thing I made clear from the onset when I came out and confessed that I'm currently living in a shelter with my children. No, I'm not seeking donations from the public. I need work. Give me
Yeah.
work. I even ended up mentioning, these are my qualifications and experiences. You may not know, but I have a psychology degree. I'm currently working on a teaching diploma.
Yeah.
Offer me something. And at that point, it was really not about going back into the industry. I was willing to do just about anything. I remember even asking one of the managers at a shopping center near where we lived that, can I please be a cashier? And she laughed at me. Like, what do you mean you want to be a cashier?
Yeah.
A whole, I'm like, no, the thing is I need to get something soon, which is the obligation or the mandate at the shelter. They give you time during the day as a parent to go seek work and come back by the time the kids come back. So you cannot chill and hang around all day and, sink in your depression or your worry or your anxiety. Get out there and look for a job.
Sure. I think, Nolo, we have rendered the story to physical abuse at this stage, right? I do think there are people who go through psychological abuse. The abuse that is somewhat silent physically. You don't see it, right? For somebody who feels like, I need the safe haven, but Nolo, I'm scared. Because I don't know how to prove that I'm not okay. If I go there and they want to do an evaluation, they're going to ask me, can I afford a place? I might not be able to afford it, but my partner, my friend, whoever I live with can afford me. I don't look scruffy. I don't, there's not much to run on.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Psychological and emotional abuse are the hardest to prove. And in most cases, you won't even get the courage to seek the help that you need because you've been so oppressed in your mind. But if you're sitting there and you feel like, if I don't get out of this situation, it's either I'm going to kill myself or I will become a shell of myself, a zombie. So if you feel the urge that I need to get out of here, I suggest you do what I've advised many women to do, because ever since I came out with my story, I found a lot of women, some of which are very prominent individuals too, reaching out to me in my DMs and saying, can you please give me the context to the shelter that you're in? It's in Johannesburg East. You are in Pretoria. It's not going to work. However, I used to say to them, just Google women and children safety home. There's definitely one in your area. When you get there, the people that speak to you and do the so-called screening, it's social workers, it's psychologists. They will be able to pick up that you are oppressed. They will be able to pick up that you are experiencing some sort of abuse, because the truth is, it is not a place for you to go relax and forget about your problems and figure out how to get back at your perpetrator. That's not what it is. So they can pick up that this individual doesn't need help. People come there under distress, and they see that and they speak to you and they ask the necessary questions, next of kin contacts. So also what I've noticed is they can also do a background check on you as the individual. So don't think that they won't help you because you haven't been physically abused. But if you know that you're trapped and you've been feeling trapped for a while and you need to get out there, just get out of that space. Know that there is help for you, and help is not always running to the police for help, because we all know that would just be a mediation situation and then you're back at the house, or they might say it takes 2 days to put together a protection order. In those 2 days your life is at risk. So these shelters, these safety homes are available for you. Even if you don't have kids, you can go by yourself, right? And go seek the necessary help They will help you not just with shelter, they will help you with psychological help. They will also help you with finding a job according to the qualifications that you have.
Lastly, Nolo, I want to talk about the tell signs. Sometimes I think as a friend, as somebody who loves somebody who's oppressed, you miss it. Right, because they're the jokester, they're the clown of the class. You know, they're making everyone smile, and you forget to actually notice that they never smile. You know, they're never in their right head frame. What are some of these signs that, and I can't say that I don't know that your crowd saw that you weren't okay, but what are some of the signs that you can identify now that you knew that you exuded during your time? You know, what are some of the signs that we should be cognizant of to say, okay, maybe you don't want to talk about it because you've never come to me, but I know that something's wrong.
Yeah, no, that one is challenging because in my case, I would always say, for the friends who said, why didn't you tell me you needed help? Why did we have to hear about your situation from the papers?
Yeah.
I would always say to them, weren't you curious why I always needed financial help every single month? Why didn't you sit me down and say, but friend, you're always asking me for money? Auntie, what's wrong? Why can't you, downgrade your life or something? I had already downgraded by that time, But then in terms of tell signs in physical abuse, you really just, it doesn't take a scientist. You really just need to look at the bruises, the covering up, and if you were to ask about how is the family, they find a way to paint a picture that is not really there. But when you will sense as an individual that something is off here. In terms of other abuse, I always think if somebody's really close to you and you sense a difference in their behavior, it's really a matter of asking. But can we also just have a PI kind of eye when looking at people's Instagram stories and TikTok stories? Those things are telling too. They're telling. I've since learned to have that. I am like, this looks like a perfect picture.
Yeah.
But something is off.
I'm not going to lie to you. That PI, private investigator, no.
Maybe I just have that in it because I study human behavior, right?
It's one thing to assume that something is off, right? But I'm also very cognizant of Shayla, right? I could think something's off because when I was in something that was almost perfect, it fell apart.
Yeah.
And so I could project. And so I'm very quick to...
Then instead of projecting, ask. Like I do ask. And I would usually say, I'm sorry if this may come off as offensive, but I did not like the way that individual spoke to you. Yeah. Are you okay? And I do ask. And once I get the response, I can decide from there whether it's real, is it true or not. And if you shouldn't dig deeper, you shouldn't dig deeper. But I think all in all, don't be afraid to be a whistleblower and secretly slide in that information they may need to find the help that they need. Because nowadays we do have information. We do have a helpline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The voice there of Nolo Pebetsi Matlaila joining us, beloved actress, public figure, and of course one of our very own here at Channel Africa, talking all things safe havens and the importance thereof. This particular stat coming through from Western Cape and Gauteng, just contrasting how survivors are receiving aid from these safe havens, gives us something to think about. 24,000 survivors accessed psychological support. This is between the years 2024 to 2025. And then in Gauteng, only 2,000. I'm going to leave you with that stat. It is 5 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. Some music for now.
Turn the page. It's African Diaries on Channel Africa.